if you're not making like 10 to 11% on your money, that's to stay even. Right? And so if you're not doing crypto or something that's going to give you 50, 75, 100% annual returns, you're not going to create real wealth for yourself. You've got to either do it through equity, or you've got to do it through something like, some stocks that take off through the roof like Nvidia, or MicroStrategies, or something like crypto.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do something that's going to have, asymmetrical returns, or you're not even going to stay even with the loss of buying power.
Right.
But I always tell people when they're doing a startup, try to brute force as much of it as you possibly can, and brute force it yourself as the CEO. Because then you see where the inefficiencies are, where you're going to get some economies of scale and where you're not. It just really helps you understand the business in a deeper way. I learned how to communicate. That's the other thing I think people get so wrong, is they think who they are is static. I've reinvented myself. If someone told me 5 years ago I was going to be doing podcasts, I'd be like, you're high. What are you talking? There's no way. And it's like, you can decide who you're going to be. If you are as prepared as humanly possible, you won't win all the time, but you'll win most of the time.
I'm Manning Sumner. I've lived my life by one motto: no days off. No days off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. Get ready to be inspired to do the same. This is the Big Dawgs with Manning Sumner. It was funny. I was telling my business partner that I was doing a podcast with you, and he's like, "Have you pitched him yet?" And I was like, "Well, kind of, sort of, not really."
Well, it's
you don't really invest in CPG, right? Is that what it was?
No. So it's funny. I have my personal experience, both as just doing consulting and mentorship, or just being a founder, executive, whatever. I think I've been in over 40 industries. I've only been in the same industry twice, and that was crypto, because I have a strong personal interest in crypto. Never been in the beverage space, mostly services, mostly with a significant tech component. Okay. Those are most of my experience, both operational and on.
I found in this process of raising money that a lot of people are favorable to tech. And then when you talk CPG or gyms, they run the other way. So it's been challenging.
One of the things that, we talked about it a little bit last time.
Are we live? All right, awesome.
So we talked about it a little bit last time we talked, but, part of what so I'm open to investing, of course, always, but the other thing I think I could be helpful with is I know how investors think.
Yeah.
I also have a pretty good network. I mean, you do too. But it's funny. It's one of the things that's blown me away, and I would say probably 95% of the companies that where I'm mentoring or coaching or consulting to, or executives that are, CEOs usually, where they're doing, say, 15 million or less in revenue, 95% of them don't have a budget. And I'm like, I cannot wrap my head around this. And I was talking to a guy who I'm just helping out. We did a podcast swap, and I liked him, so I was trying to be helpful to him. So I gave him my course for free. I'm like, hey, he made money in real estate. His wife is a doctor, and they opened a med spa together.
Okay.
So we're talking about his med spa. And I was like, nice guy, smart guy. His wife too, obviously, she's a doctor. And I'm like, hey, well, help me understand. He sent me his September, just recently, he sent me his September numbers. And I'm like, okay, so you've got 80 grand in revenue, you've got 30 grand in inventory. I'm like, how much of that inventory is toward the 80 grand, and how much of the inventory is for future revenue? He's like, oh, that's a really good question.
He didn't know the answer.
He had no idea. And then I was like, well, help me understand, what's your customer acquisition cost and what's your lifetime value? Ballpark. I don't need perfect, just ballpark. Well, I think I'm around $180 in customer acquisition costs and about $7,000 in LTV. I'm like, well, is that revenue or is that profit?
Right.
He's like, oh, okay, it's $3,500 in profit. I'm like, okay, that can't be right, because if you're spending $180 to get $3,500, you'd be printing money.
Exactly.
And you're losing money. I'm like, and you're losing money. So that means you're either wrong on one number, the other number, or both, probably, by a lot.
Yeah.
And they've been running this business for 2 years, and they're not dumb people.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was talking to a guy. So when I started, I was CEO of a Forex prop trading firm down here in Miami for about a year and a half. And I met the CEO of another prop trading firm who just by coincidence lives out in Scottsdale, where I am now. Again, pure coincidence. And I was, went into his office actually yesterday, and I was like, Sebastian, I'm like, can I see your budget? He's like, we don't have one of those. And I'm like, dude, you're doing 6 million. I'm like, how are you, and again, same thing, what's your customer acquisition? What's your lifetime value? And I was like, and the thing is, he's making $1.5 million, like he's putting $1.5 million to the bottom line.
Right.
So I'm like, I said, look, I said, you've already solved the hard part. You have a profitable business.
Right.
You've solved the hard part. I said, but you're going to be able to grow your top line so much better and your profitability so much better. I said, plus you have if you do your budgeting and forecasting properly, you have a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. Like you can see 6 months into the future like it's tomorrow if you do it right. If you do it right, you do your budget. Because the other thing I tell people, and I'm curious if you've done this with your business, but what I tell people to do is, even if you don't have outside investors, even if you self-funded it yourself, you should have a board of directors with at least 3 people. The CEO, of your business, which you should have someone who has industry expertise in the industry that you're in, and you should have someone that has broad experience. Ideally, one of those 2 people puts, even if you say you need $1 million in startup capital and you had the $1 million yourself, put in 900 of your own and bring in 100 from someone else so that they've got some skin in the game. Give just a little bit of equity to the 2 board members. Have quarterly board meetings. Okay, have your board meeting in December where you approve your budget for the following year. I promise you, if you do that, your business is going to grow at least 20% faster, and your profitability is going to grow 30% faster, minimum.
And I mean, in my hearing you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is it's almost like, how we have our staff, everything's about accountability. It's like there's certain things that we have to check every day in order for things to get done. So it almost feels like that's the accountability for the person at top. Hearing you say it, it's like you're holding yourself accountable now with, again, people with skin in the game, but you're having to not answer to them, but talk it out with them. So there's something to be said about that.
It's huge. And the thing is, I probably prepared for over 100, board meetings in my life. And I'm a very, very data-driven guy. One of the first things I do whenever I join a company, whether I'm trying to help someone with theirs or I'm like when I went into Top Tier Trader here in Miami, again, we're doing $12 million in revenue, no budget. And I was like, wow. What?
Right.
So first thing I did is I built a bottom-up budget. The second thing I did was I had them build it. I had some guys I worked with in the past build me a data warehouse. So I had really good data that I can make data-driven decisions. Now, you don't want analysis paralysis, but when you have data available to you that will allow you to make a better decision and it's at your fingertips, use it.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Sebastian, and I said, okay, well, so, have you looked at your payouts by traffic source? So what are your payouts for your affiliates? What are your payouts when you're doing paid advertising? What are your payouts when it's coming from social media? What are your payouts when it's coming from email marketing, just as an example? And he's like, he has no idea. And I'm like, well, you might have affiliates that are bringing you a bunch of revenue that you're losing money on. I mean, years ago, I remember I had this mentor of mine. It's funny, I say old. He's now he sadly passed away in his late 50s, but and I'm 59. But he would sell. So he had sold the company to Oracle for $50 million, and this guy I'm a great salesman when I believe in the product. He could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
Right. I can't do that.
Right.
But anyway, so he would sell these projects. Right. He would bill me out at $400 an hour. He'd take $200 an hour for selling it. I'd get $200 an hour for doing all the work. He'd take half the credit. It was a great deal, right? And so, what he'd do is he would drop me into these companies that I knew nothing about. I never knew anything about them. So I remember there was this one. They were maybe 5 or 6 months away from going under, from bankruptcy. And basically he's like, okay, you have 2 weeks to figure out what's wrong with this company and fix it. Now, my experience is 90% of the time, any company can be fixed. 10% of the time you're fucked. It can't be fixed.
Right.
But 90% of the time...
That's strong, though, 90%.
It's much higher than people think.
Yeah, I would think it would be like a 50-50 situation.
When I started at Top Tier, the day I started as CEO, MetaQuotes pulled our trading license, our platform license, and we lost 60% of our revenue the day I started. 6 months later...
And you turned that completely around. Right.
6 months later, I had the revenue back to where it was, more profitable, and 6 months after that, we're printing money.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he drops me into this company, and they did, I don't know if you're old enough to know what a CD-ROM is, but back when they used to do CD-ROMs. So they did high-end CD-ROMs, and they were getting something like 40% of their revenue was, I forget if it was, I can't remember if it was coming from a channel partnership they had with Yahoo or with YouTube. I can't remember now, it's so long ago. But anyway, so I didn't know anything about the business. So what I did was I interviewed every single person in the company, from the secretary to the CEO. And everyone in between.
That's like Elon Musk does that.
Does he?
Yeah, that's what they said he did.
And
Twitter.
I spent, sometimes I spent 20 minutes with some people.
Right.
Sometimes I spend 2 hours, depending on the person and what they had to, what they had to contribute. And anyway, so I present to the CEO 2 weeks later, and he's like, "How the fuck do you know my business better in 2 weeks than I do in 10 years?" I'm like, "I don't."
Talk to his people, though.
I don't. I said, the secretary had 3% of the answer. You had 12% of the answer. Your chief marketing officer had 8%.
Right.
All I did was listen and synthesize. You had the answer. And if you'd taken the time to talk, I didn't say this, but if you took the time to talk to all 40 people, you'd have come to the same conclusion I did. All we had to do to fix the business was change the commission structure for their salespeople and fire their single biggest channel partnership. All the revenue coming from their channel partnership, that was 40% of the revenue, they were losing money on. So they went from hemorrhaging money to profitable just by getting rid of all that business and changing their commission structure. And so now they weren't going on. The business is still around.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating because that's kind of like the gym business is a lot like that. It's how you structure, because it's a commission-based business, really, at the end of the day. At least mine is. Some of the big box gyms, it's all about the draft and how many members can you sign up. But a luxury gym like this is mostly about us servicing people. And obviously that requires coaches and trainers to service people. And then you got to give them a piece of the pie to incentivize them to do their job. So, but sometimes you can get in a situation where you're giving them too much of a pie, and then it doesn't motivate them to get more of the pie, if that makes sense.
Because they're able to live a good life without doing too much.
Exactly.
It's so did you ever see the movie A Bronx Tale?
It's so long
Robert
ago.
De Niro,
I remember
Robert De Niro.
but-
So one of my all-time favorites. I don't know if you know. It's actually based on the Chaz Palmineri's real life. So when he was 10 years
No
old,
way.
when he was 10 years old, some mafioso guy killed a guy right in front of him.
Okay.
Just like in the movie, the cops came and questioned him, and he didn't rat the guy out, and so he created a relationship with this mafioso guy. That's based on his actual life story, just like in the movie. So there's this part in the movie where the kid who, the mafioso guy is kind of mentoring, and he says, "Would you rather be loved or feared?" He goes, "It's nice to be both, but if I had to choose, I would choose fear." And he goes, "I want to tell a joke. Everybody laughs." He goes, "I know I'm funny, but I'm not that funny." But he talks about wanting to give his people enough, but not too much. He's like, if I give them too much, they get fat and lazy. If I don't give them enough, they hate me.
Right.
And it's like finding that right balance. And the other thing I find all the time is the number of times companies fuck with their best salespeople, where they pull territory, where they do everything, they do every hurdle in front of them, because they're like, well, they're making 3 times as much as the CEO. Yeah, well, they have little or no equity.
Right.
The CEO has all the equity,
Exactly.
and they're the one driving the value.
They're driving the value in the business. Yeah.
Right. And it's like the other thing that I advise people to do, that it's shocking, how infrequently they take my advice, is I'm like, I think every single employee in your company should have equity. Every single employee. And the thing that people don't understand is, if you do 4-year vesting, okay, with 1-year cliff vesting, the reality is, if you can't tell in a year whether someone is worth the equity you gave them or not, that's on you, right? And the reality is, if you cut them loose 9 months after they start, they don't keep any of the equity.
Right.
So you can award equity to people. It's like, and you don't have to set aside more than 10% of the equity for non-founder employees. That's more than enough. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to build $1 billion company. 0.1% is $1 million.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
talk to me though about, I agree with you, but I also in real life,
Right.
I know you're speaking real life, but experience that I've had.
Yeah.
People don't value equity sometimes. They don't even see the value in it. Like, they almost disrespect it in a lot of ways. Like,
So I think a lot of times.
is that because they're the wrong people, or?
So there's 2 things.
Okay.
One, so it's funny. So what I decided, I don't know if you probably don't watch any of my content, but I ripped up my Wharton diploma on.
I did see that. Yeah.
So
I saw your thing too. Like you said, how to do it without an MBA. Like, you're doing a course on it.
The
anti-MBA.
Yeah. So what I decided to do, I'm gonna come back to your question. I promise I'll answer it.
All right.
So what I decided to do is, I had hired as a summer intern the 18-year-old daughter of a good friend of mine. I'm actually an advisor to his company. And he's Ukrainian, so it's like English is her 3rd language. She speaks Russian and Ukrainian and English. Anyway, just finished high school. And anyway, she had been working for me for 2 weeks. And I'm like, Anna, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I want to make you CEO of a business. I want to give you 51% of the equity. And you're going to make 100% of the operating decisions. So you can come to me with any questions you have. All I want you to do is take my course and then come to me when you have questions. That's it. We talk twice a week.
And what kind of business was this?
What's that?
What kind of business was this?
So your Michael Jordan poster made me think of it. It's a custom poster business called One of One Posters. So the idea is you can create the nexus of the idea was I lived in Chicago for all 6 of Michael Jordan's championships.
Okay.
And so the iconic picture you have in black and white where he wins the slam dunk competition where he jumps from the free throw line.
Yeah.
There's a one where it's in color where it's the he's wearing red. And then my favorite quote is from the Nike commercial. I've taken the game-winning shot 37 times and missed, and I succeed because I fail, whatever. So I love the quote, love the picture, and for no amount of money could I find both. And I wanted the poster with that, and I wanted it in my office.
Yeah.
Right? Couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm like, screw it. I bought the poster. I bought the high-res image. I put it in PowerPoint. I superimposed the text of the quote. I professionally printed it. I professionally framed it. So anyway, and then I started to do that for friends. What I would do is I had a good friend who, huge Formula One Lewis Hamilton fan.
Okay.
He just switched from Mercedes to Ferrari teams. And so there was no pictures of him in Ferrari gear. I AI generated a picture of him in Ferrari gear, took a cool Lewis Hamilton quote, printed it, professionally framed it, gave it to him as a present. And I did this for 7 or 8 people, and all of them said, coolest gift I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And it's one of one, one of a
amazing.
kind, right? And so, in fact, I'm gonna.
And you turned that into a business?
Yeah. So
to this day, they're still.
So we're gonna launch the business November 1st.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a genius freaking business.
And Anna's CEO of the business.
No way.
So we were having a conversation today because we have this guy who's doing Colombian kid. He's only I think he's 20 or 21 years old. He's doing all of our website work. He's doing great work. And I said, Anna, you should really think about whether you want to give Sam equity or not. So we were talking through, and so she'd already had a conversation. We were kind of talking through it. So back to your point, I would say 50% of the time, it's the wrong person. The other 50% of the time is it's not explained to them in a way that makes sense. Because part of what I do is the board meetings that I talk about that I do every quarter, the week after the board meeting, I do take the same presentation, maybe make a couple minor tweaks, and I give that same presentation to every employee in the company. And I basically show them the same variance analysis I showed the CEO, where the company's tracking, what's going well, what's not going well, all the same information. Because again, I want to be accountable. As a servant leader, I'm accountable to my board, I'm accountable to my shareholders, I'm accountable to my employees. No one should be more accountable than me. And my whole thing is, if you want people to act like owners, make them owners. And so I only want people on my team.
Patrick Bet-David talks about that in his book, The 5 Next Moves.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that, and look, at the end of the day, you're going to have people that just have a scarcity mentality and they're like, I just want a salary and, I don't care about equity or whatever it might be. But what I do is when I'm showing them, so if they don't have equity and I'm sharing the board results and the company's doing well, right? All it looks like, oh, well, you're making more money and shareholders are making more money, but what good is that doing me? But if I make them a shareholder, now all of a sudden they're excited about that.
Right.
And I'm trying to get everyone to row in the same direction. I'm not starting a company, for the, to feel good about myself. I want to make money for me, for my employees, and for my shareholders.
Now, how does that work though? For okay, let's use that for the gym business. All right.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you're talking about hiring sometimes 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Do you think that applies to?
Well, I can tell you this. So I got an 18-year-old that's my CEO.
Okay.
Got 51%. I can tell you she's motivated as hell.
Yeah.
Right. And this 20-year-old kid who's doing all the website development, he's motivated. Because again, it's like, what I have to do.
You're saying it's the motivation behind it.
Well,
more than anything.
What I explained to Anna is I said, look, Anna, here's the goal. I want to get this to something like 3 to 4 million in revenue run rate in the next 18 to 36 months. Okay, you and I are going to build a plan together how we're going to do that. If we're able to do that at these margins, we're valued at something like $10 million.
You're gonna have like Zappos or something like that value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Amazon or somebody.
Well, so we're worth like $10 million. I said, so now she's thinking, I
can't believe this doesn't exist.
I couldn't believe it either.
Seriously.
I looked, dude. It does.
Right now, I'm literally this asshole. I can't believe he came up with this. Because basically, I've been doing that.
Right.
I've done it too.
Yeah.
I've found things and then graphic designed it, mostly for Instagram posts, but it's so genius.
It's so, I couldn't believe it didn't exist. The other one I did, my other favorite quote is the man in the arena quote. But I don't want it, Teddy Roosevelt is just a dead white guy, right? Fat guy too. I'm like, so I took a picture of David Goggins with that quote and I created so my 2 posters in my office are the Goggins one with the man in the arena and the Jordan one. and people come in like, oh man, those are amazing.
I'm already
Oh, dude, I'm gonna send you one.
That Marcus Aurelius one.
Yeah. Ann and I are gonna send you
that
one.
To me is so badass. Like, so it's yeah.
Yeah, no, because it's like not only that, but think about it. Like, if you're a salesperson, okay, and someone gets a promotion. And you already, they casually mention, oh, this Teddy Roosevelt quote or this Abraham Lincoln quote.
Yeah.
And then they get this promotion. You show them this thing and they hang it up on their wall in their office. Every time they look at that, they're thinking about you.
Yeah. So almost every single piece of artwork is not just me, like what I like.
Right.
I asked all my employees on the Bev side mostly, like what their favorite artist was, what their favorite athlete was. So it's kind of a compilation. I mean, most of it is me, but but there's a few pieces, like there's some random artwork from random artists that people are probably like, why does he have this up there? And it's because one of my staff was like, that's my favorite art. And I'll never forget, he came in, he's the head of business development, one in particular, and he walked into his office and saw it all hanging up, and he was just like blown away. So, to your point, it's something that goes beyond like money. It's because I always say create moments that create memories instead of material, but this is almost a material thing that creates memories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
Because every time you're looking at that picture, it's reminding you of who gave it to you. And then also, the reason why I have quotes all over the walls is because I believe there's power in the things we tell ourselves. So I read them all out loud all the time. And people probably think I'm weird or whatever, but I feel like it's speaking, life into me, so
100%, and people really, and the other thing too about the equity. So my first job out of college, I worked for, it was called Anderson Consulting then, now it's called Accenture. I was only there for a year. I hated it. I'm not a big company guy. I never have been. But then I went to work for
another. That was the one you had like 500 employees?
No. So that one, Anderson Consulting at the time was, I think, the biggest consulting company in the world. We had like 30 or 40,000 consultants.
Oh, wow.
But I was only there a year.
Okay.
And then I left. I went to another consulting company that was a startup. And not every employee. When I got promoted to senior consultant, I was the only one at my level that was given. They gave me 7 stock options. I didn't know what a stock option was. I was 23. It split 125 to 1. It IPO'd, and I was worth $300,000 at 24. Right? And I didn't even know what a stock option was.
Yeah.
I was like, I like this equity thing.
Right.
I swore to myself from that point forward, I will never work anywhere without equity. And with the exception of companies where my company got acquired and I got a payout from that and I had to stick around for some period,
right.
I've always had equity in every single company I've ever worked for. My daughter, she got a job at a company that was pre-IPO right out of college. And she left just a little before the IPO. She was there for 2 years, but a bunch of her equity vested. She made $60,000. She's 23 years old. She made $60,000. The reality is, if you want to create people don't understand that because of the money printer, with the Fed and interest being higher than they're really saying. The reality is, if you're not making like 10 to 11% on your money, that's to stay even.
Right.
And so if you're not doing crypto or something that's going to give you 50, 75, 100% annual returns, you're not going to create real wealth for yourself. You've got to either do it through equity or you've got to do it through something like, some stocks that take off through the roof like NVIDIA or MicroStrategies or something like crypto. You've got to do something that's going to have, asymmetrical returns, or you're not even going to stay, even with the loss of buying power.
Right. You said you're into crypto?
Yeah. So my financial manager, I put 100% of my retirement accounts are on MicroStrategies because I want as much crypto exposure as I can get.
Okay.
And that basically, it's actually outperformed Bitcoin by like 400% over the last 5 years. And then I'm something like 80 to 90% of my liquid net worth is in Bitcoin.
Wow.
And
you believe that's the future?
Well, let's put it this way. I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable with the Bitcoin that I control in my hardware wallet than the money I have in Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I want to wire money, I get a phone call. Who are you sending it to? Yeah. I'm like, it's my fucking money. It's none of your goddamn business.
What is that about too? So I had a guy invest in my Nashville gym, and he was trying to wire me $250,000. The bank treated him like a criminal.
Yeah.
For months. Not like, it was very bizarre, like for months. And it was one of these like new online banks.
Right.
And they literally, he said he had to give them my business plan.
What?
For them to send. It was
crazy.
Wild. It was wild.
Well, look, when I was at a crypto company before I semi-retired, we had two revenue streams. We built into the banking infrastructure to allow people to buy, sell, and hold crypto within their bank account. And then we also allowed people to do large. So we had a crypto trade desk where it was like whales, average transaction 50 to 75 grand. People mostly buying Bitcoin. And the number of times banks would not allow the customer to wire us money, like it was something like 30% of the time. They wouldn't let them send their money to us. They literally would not allow them. And we had customers that would literally close their bank account, go to another bank in order to wire us money. Because the bank wouldn't let them do it because the word crypto was in the name of our company.
Which
Crazy.
Seems criminal.
Exactly.
Because it's your money.
It's unbelievable.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, you heard about all the, the debanking of conservatives. I mean, this crazy shit with the Canadian truckers where they were freezing people's bank accounts for donating to the truckers.
Right.
Like,
that was wild.
Crazy shit.
And then also, like, I mean, we're all driving around in basically cars that they could shut off at any time. Dude, that's something that to me is like a little freaky. It makes me want to get like a 1970s, gas guzzler with no electronics in it.
I got to tell you, it's funny. I have not owned a car, so I'm not a car guy. And I'm kind of an experience. So I spend money on experiences. I'll blow money in around the world trip, but I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a car for over 20 years. So I lived in downtown Manhattan. I lived in downtown Chicago, and I lived in downtown Miami. You don't need a car, right? You walk to everything, right? I'm in Scottsdale now. I need a car. So, because I had a bunch of friends that have Teslas, I got a Tesla. I am kicking myself. I am so mad that I bought. I mean, it's a great car. It's a rocket ship, but
it's charging, wild how they drive, right?
Oh, it's crazy. And
like, it takes you a little getting used to it first.
Well, the self-driving's a little weird, and it did almost drive me into a ditch twice.
Oh my God!
Like crazy. Like it literally just like jerked the car, almost hit a pole. But the charging is such a pain in the ass. It adds a level of stress to my life that is completely unnecessary. Right. Like, do I have enough charge to get to the airport to pick someone up and get back home? One time, like in my building, even though I have a reserved spot, they won't let me, because they don't have enough infrastructure, they won't let me put a charging thing in there. So I have to go to the communal spots.
Yeah.
And once your car's charged, they charge you $50 an hour if you leave it over, right? So it cost me $400 to charge my car one time. I was so fucking mad. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's wild. I have the biggest gas guzzler in the world. I think my truck gets like 6 miles to the gallon, but it's fun.
What are you driving, a Hummer?
No, it's a 1 of 40 Ford Raptor R Shelby.
Oh damn!
Yeah,
okay,
it has 990 horsepower. It's really obnoxious, but it's fun.
You can see the gas gauge move.
Oh yeah, literally. You punch it, and then all of a sudden you got to go fill up. It's
my wife
obnoxious.
And we had a friend. We were digital nomad. My wife and I were digital nomads for about a year and a half.
Okay.
So we sold every single thing we owned. We were only allowed to have one piece of checked luggage, one roller bag, and one backpack.
When was
she had a
this?
purse. This was probably 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And so we spent like a month in Medellin, we spent a month in Tulum, we spent a month in Ecuador, wherever, Cartagena, and Miami. That's why we ended up Miami, because we would bounce around, we'd come back to Miami. We were staying in Airbnbs, like we stayed in nice Airbnbs the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did it. I would never do it again. Because it's like, it's kind of like women, right? You have to trade off between newness and comfort.
You mentioned Cartagena. I had one of the worst experiences of my life with my wife in Cartagena. It was horrible. It was terrible.
Yeah. We almost got kidnapped in Dominican Republic.
No, in Cartagena, I almost got kidnapped.
If a guy like you could get kidnapped, anybody could.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been that stupid. But they tried to get me in a car. It was kind of obvious, so I recognized it. And then we both got the Cartagena crud. I don't know if you heard about that.
No.
But basically, just coming out of both ends.
Oh God!
It was horrible, and it was supposed to be our honeymoon.
So my God!
It was a disaster. And then everyone said you didn't have to speak English. I mean, you didn't have to speak Spanish, and you needed to speak Spanish. Like no one spoke English, like nobody. So it was just like, see, ¿qué? What?
Well, Medellin wasn't as bad. Medellin was better for that.
No, I've heard Medellin's amazing.
Yeah, Medellin was nice. But anyway, so we had a friend who had a really nice RV. Actually, he was the president of Tesla, so he was Elon's number 2 for like 11 years. Anyway, so obviously he's a billionaire. Yeah. So anyway, he had this really nice, like $300,000-$400,000 RV sitting idle in one of his like 7 homes in Reno. So he let us borrow it. So we took it because we did I became a resident of South Dakota they have a digital nomad residency. So basically, if you, I'm a South Dakota resident. I don't pay any state income tax. I can live anywhere in the world I want. Yeah. So long as you don't have a kid in school and you don't own your primary residence, like where you're living,
okay,
you can basically be a South Dakota resident. You only have to spend 1 day every 5 years there. And basically,
One day every 5 years.
That's it. One day every 5 years, and I don't pay any state income tax. So
incredible.
Anyway, so we were doing this like 8-9 state trip in his RV because we were trying this, van life, digital nomad.
Yeah.
It seems so much cooler when you're doing it, and it made me think of it as I could literally see the gasket. It got like 6 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
I freaking hated driving that thing.
That was after you traveled the other places?
That was actually the beginning of our digital nomad tour.
Okay.
Was, hey, let's do this drive. Let's get our South Dakota
licenses. Whose idea was this? Yours or your wife's?
It was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of both.
Okay.
And I got to say too, like, it's weird. She can be super bougie in some cases.
How long have y'all been married?
Married together for 10, married for 2.
Okay.
So, but when we met, huge age. She was 23 when we met. And I was 50. We've been together almost 10 years now. So, but anyway, so she went through an REI phase, when we were doing digital nomad stuff. But that went by the wayside. Now it's expensive shit. But the nice thing is, like, really, we don't have that much stuff. So even though, like, the place we lived in, we had a killer place in Brickell, but it was furnished. Like most of the places, and same thing in Scottsdale, we just rented a really nice, furnished place.
So right now you've been renting, like you don't own anything.
No, yeah. So the whole idea of furniture. Now, with that said, traveling with an infrared sauna, so I have my own sauna, I have my own cold plunge, I have my own like red light panels. So literally, I don't have any furniture. But I have like sauna,
all your longevity stuff.
Yeah.
We got to keep up with the 23-year-old. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, but the digital nomad thing. What was cool about it was I liked the idea when we were doing it, and we really were being strict about it. We could buy anything we wanted, but if we bought something, we had to get rid of something. So you want to buy a new pair of shoes, you got to get rid of a pair of shoes. You want to buy another shirt, you got to get rid of a shirt. And it makes you think about, like, what do you really wear? There's like 10 articles of clothing that I wear all the time.
Right.
And then I have other stuff that I wear very, very occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried the whole, like, Steve Jobs wear the same thing every day thing, and I'm so into fashion that I get pulled into like buying stuff, but it's really pointless if you really think, like, shoes. I really need help. I need to go to. I will say
my wife is really into fashion. She's an amazing eye for it.
Yeah.
And what she does is she just like she'll sell her stuff every 6 to 12 months, and she'll just get new shit. So she's always got I forget what they're called, like the shoes. They look like Ninja Turtle shoes. I don't know, Margie. I don't know any brands. But if she knows all that shit, but she's like, oh yeah, that's like. I think they look ridiculous. Apparently they were cool for a period of time. Now they're not cool anymore, so she gets rid of them and she buys what's the thing that's cool. But because she gets like 50 cents on the dollar for most of the stuff she sells.
Well, now there's so many resale,
like the Real and stuff like that.
Poshmark and Let Go and all. There's a million things now. Everybody turns everything into a business. So Etsy and all this stuff. So yeah.
But you couldn't find the custom posters for some weird reason.
That's so bizarre.
I looked everywhere. Even on Etsy, I couldn't even find it.
Kudos to you. That's a genius business model. That's going to blow up.
And the thing that's amazing about it is like the margins are great. Yeah. It's like, because we built into the APIs that actually do the printing and the fulfillment. So now we're like, once we have a little bit of scale, we'll get custom boxes and stuff like that and really go a little bit higher end.
Right.
But to start with, and that's the other thing too, like what I always tell people when they're doing a startup, like, if you can, try to brute force they can't do it with the gym, obviously, but a lot of online businesses, try to brute force as much of it as you possibly can, and brute force it yourself as the CEO. Because then you see where the inefficiencies are, where you're going to get some economies of scale and where you're not. It just really helps you understand the business in a deeper way than if you spend all this time trying to get everything right from the beginning.
Right.
Brute force it, and then just when you see where the inefficiencies are, just rank order them and then chip away at them.
Yeah. We kind of did that with our water. We started with like a local brewery almost.
Right.
Where we're literally like pouring the ingredients in and churning it ourselves, and then testing it and then taste testing it. And that was like a year and a half of like
testing the water and trying to come up with our formula that we could patent and like own.
Right.
So it was a little bit of like down and dirty or whatever. And that's probably not the best way to say
I
it.
remember you telling me this when we spoke last time, where you were saying that like a lot of the even high-end bottled waters, when you test the water, it's not that good.
No, it's amazing.
And like I've actually
shocking.
I did that because you said that, and I was like, I found exactly the same thing. I'm like, holy shit! I was really surprised.
It's wild. I mean, and it does make sense if you really think about it. So, like, if you think about where premium waters are coming from, they're coming from wells, lakes, rivers, mountains, ice, glaciers, all this stuff. Well, we're polluting the hell out of the world. So it's almost impossible for this stuff that's coming from our earth to be 100%, pure or what have you. And so we're heading into this kind of era, I believe, that a premium water will actually be a premium process of making sure that you're getting something that's safe for you, without. And then another thing too, which is wild, is that the PFAS and microplastics are now like part of the environment.
Right.
So again, you're finding it in the lakes and the streams so it's getting in the water. And that's the thing that's eye-opening for us. And it's cool too, because you can keep getting the process better, is what we've realized, is that you add another filter or another thing that can clean the water even more so. So the proprietary blend of electrolytes that go back in the water, we've already kind of nailed that. Mm-hmm. So now it's just making sure that the process purifies the,
It was funny. So the apartment we moved into in Scottsdale, we got lucky where like it was an Iranian couple that upgraded every single thing in the apartment because they were going to move in, and then they didn't move in. And so it was like,
got the benefit of all
I get the benefit, and it has like a 2,000 square foot private terrace. So it's like that, which is just a super nice feature. But anyway, they had a reverse osmosis water filter, right?
Okay.
So, but again, I don't trust anyone, especially after talking to you. So I actually have one of those water testers.
Yeah.
They're like $10.
Yeah.
Right? You buy them on Amazon, right? I test it, and the water's like literally toxic.
Oh no.
Like
with the reverse osmosis.
Well, no, because they clearly didn't set it up properly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, because they're like, oh, it works fine. I'm like, I tested the water. It's literally toxic.
Yeah.
It's worse than the water that's not being filtered. So I don't know how that's possible. So they fixed it, and now it's great. But it's like, it's like under 50 parts per million of anything. So I think the reverse osmosis is pretty good, right?
Yeah, it depends on which one you use.
Okay.
So ours is a 7-step reverse osmosis, and ours takes it down to the 1 micron.
Oh wow. Okay.
And ours takes it all the way to 9 parts a billion. So we're 60 times less contaminants than your average tap water or bottled water.
It's like what, 400 or 500, right? Isn't that like about what normal?
Yeah, normal. I think I have the chart that shows it. And then our electrolytes are 10 times the amount of your average. So what's also amazing is like your Smart Water, your Essentia, your Evians of the world. Like there's nothing in it also. Right. So it's like you can drink water all day long, but without the without the minerals, you're not actually hydrating yourself.
People don't realize that.
Yeah.
They do not realize that you're actually harming yourself.
Yeah, it can actually make you feel worse. So that's something too that is an educational thing. I mean, we hear it all the time. Water is water, and
right.
What's the difference?
I forget what they call it, but I think in most marathons and like Ironman triathlons, that they have, it's fairly common that someone will die by being overhydrated. There's a term for it.
Really?
It's like hypoxia something. But people like literally, because they're drinking water with no electrolytes or minerals or anything in it, they're just drinking, basically pure water. And
then they're flushing it out.
And they literally die they basically drown in their own bodily fluids. That's crazy.
Scary.
And apparently it's not that uncommon.
Some of the things I used to do back in the day, like I didn't know anything, like trying to get lean.
Right.
I mean, I used to drink 3 gallons of distilled water.
Oh my God.
I'm surprised I didn't kill myself. Like, because all the bodybuilders were telling you to do it. You read it in like the Flex magazine,
Right.
Then you would be and it worked too. Like you would get shredded because you peed all day long and you had no water on you. but I probably could have killed myself. So
Yeah, well,
looking back on it,
when I wrestled in college, like I was cutting weight all the time, and like I literally have like PTSD whenever I go in a sauna.
I bet like, those wrestling. How much water?
I wrestled at Division One, so I was.
But like, what did you weigh?
Oh, 130. So I was wrestling. I wrestled 132. And I was walking around at 155.
So you had to cut.
I was cutting 22 pounds a week from the time I was 13 till I was 22, from November to March. Pretty much my entire childhood. From 13 to 22.
What do you think that some of that actually like transferred over to the discipline of like business? And because I really think that, because I had similar stuff with football and just like training and things like that. But like if I didn't do that stuff, I didn't wake up at 5 a.m. when I was in 7th grade and go for a run. Like I don't think I would be the man that I am today. So I think there's a direct correlation.
So I don't have all these jerseys like you. I have one shirt framed in my office. So when I went to Iowa wrestling camp between my junior and senior year of high school, and at the time Dan Gable was head coach. They just won their 9th championship in a row, and the coaches were like the guys on the varsity team plus all these other great wrestlers. Like basically, it was known as the most difficult camp. It was a month long. You'd go to jail for the shit they did to us, straight up. Like they tortured us 4 practices a day. They beat the shit out of us. And one guy like was 5 minutes late for curfew. They had him chase a car for the entire night, from midnight until 6 a.m. And every time they honked the horn, he had to sprint. They did that for 6 hours because he was 5 minutes late for curfew. They were insane. But anyway, so they woke us up one day to do a 5th workout at 5 a.m. to run 25 miles. We're doing
25 miles.
Yeah, and they're telling us how lucky we are that we're getting to do it before the sun comes up because it won't be that hot because it's still dark out, right? So I had childhood asthma, so I come back from the run and I'm like coughing up a lot. So I go to the doctor and he gives me a note that says no activity. So I go to the next practice and I hand it to the coach, right? It's like I handed him a pile of shit, right?
Yeah.
He's like, so there was a guy who had just broken his arm the day before, so he's in his cast, and the coach says to him, he's like, all right, well, you're going to do 2,000 push-ups during practice. And I was like,
wait,
what?
to the guy that broke his arm?
No, he's telling me.
Oh, okay.
He's telling me I have to do 2,000 push-ups. Last time I checked, I thought push-ups were activity, but okay.
Yeah.
So he says to the guy with the broken arm, he's like, you're going to put your non-broken hand, under his chest. You count the 2,000 push-ups. He goes, his chest has to touch your hand. If I see you count 1 push-up that doesn't touch your hand, I'll break your other arm. Like, they were nuts, okay?
This is Iowa?
This is Iowa, yeah. This is Iowa wrestling camp. And anyway, so I never thought I could do 2,000 push-ups in an hour and a half. I did 2,000 push-ups, barely. I could barely move my arms after that. But anyway, the coach actually came up to me like 2 days later and apologized. He's like, "Oh, I talked to the doctor. It turns out you really were sick. Sorry about that." But anyway, when you started the camp, they gave you 1,000 points. And at the end of the camp, if you didn't have at least 750, you didn't get a T-shirt. I know it sounds ridiculous. The T-shirt said, "I did it, Iowa Wrestling Camp," with the year. I went in 1983. And there were kids who had like 740 points that were like in tears because they didn't get this T-shirt.
Right.
If you wore this T-shirt at a wrestling tournament,
How did you lose points?
for everything, you didn't run hard enough. You didn't, you could lose points for anything pretty much. Like no one had 1,000 points at the end of, but if you really like me and I went with a close friend who we wrestled together both in high school and in college. So we got the T-shirts, but his older brother was a volunteer fireman and sadly lost his life in a fire. Jimmy put his I Did It T-shirt in his brother's coffin. Like that's how meaningful.
Right.
It sounds ridiculous, but I have my I Did It T-shirt framed in my office, because it's like I just look at that. And so to answer your question, yeah, wrestling changed the entire course of my life. I mean, I can trace most of my good qualities back to everything I learned from wrestling. Because wrestling is kind of like a microcosm, unlike a sport like football, where you probably need some natural talent, right? Size, speed, coordination, depending on your position, whatever.
Right.
But in wrestling, you give me, I don't care who they are. You give me a kid in 7th grade, short, tall, skinny, fat, dumb, smart, slow, fast, doesn't matter. If that kid does every single thing I tell him, by his senior year, he'll win 75% of his matches. I don't know any other sport like that.
Right.
But that's kind of like life. If you are as prepared as humanly possible, you won't win all the time, but you'll win most of the time. And that's kind of like life. If you do the work,
yeah,
you're going to come out the other side most of the time.
It's possible not for it to work if you do the work.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, almost no one's successful. And like when it works out, you don't know if you were lucky or good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the wrestling changed. In fact, I'm writing my first book. It's going to be on leadership. I don't know if you read Mark Manson wrote a book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I know I didn't read the whole thing, but I've
good
read
book.
some of it.
First time author sold 14 million copies. Unheard of for a first time
Right.
author. So I decided I was originally going to call my book, because it's about servant leadership. I was originally going to call it The Servant, but I decided to take, figuratively, a page out of his book. I'm calling it Lead Like You Give a Shit.
Love that. I like that a lot.
But anyway, but probably my second book is going to be about wrestling, and the title is going to be Pain is Your Ally, which is, so the guy who is so while it was Gable's camp, get this, by the way, these are all good high school wrestlers that go to this camp. About 20% of the kids quit the first week and went home. Like, that's how, like, it was brutal.
Right.
But anyway, so Jay Robinson, who was, I think he was the head coach at, was it Nebraska? I can't remember. One of the Big Ten schools. And he was an ex-Army Ranger. And I was, training program was kind of, modeled on the Army Ranger training. And which is what they did for the month that we were there. And I'd never done visualization before. And Jay Robinson every night we would do probably 25 minutes of visualization, and he would do a guided, visualization with us, as a group, the entire camp. And man, was that powerful. But I remember him every single night. He would say this. He would say, "Pain is your ally." He said, in the third period, everybody's hurting. He's like, but the more times you've been there, and the more comfortable you are there, well, you're going to be smiling when you feel the pain, and the other guys are going to be crying. And I'm telling you, like, we would do, in high school, matches are 6 minutes, 3 2-minute periods. By the end of the camp, we were doing 45-minute matches, three 15-minute periods. So when I had to wrestle 6 minutes, it was like I barely broke a sweat.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
it was crazy, but it's like, you think, oh, you couldn't go hard for 45 minutes. Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
if you build up to it. And I mean, I've never been in that kind of shape. I couldn't get tired. It was not possible for me to get tired. It was crazy.
What do you think about the whole debate on, like, right now they talk about American wrestlers versus Dagestan, with everything with the MMA going on? I don't know if you've heard about it.
I do. I mean, look, the U.S.'s wrestling has gotten, because back in, like, when I was growing up, the Russians, won everything, and then you'd have some, the Iranians did pretty good. They had a few guys, but the Americans, I mean, Gable was the only one who won. Back then, it was like very few Americans would win. Now, I mean, in the Worlds this last year, I mean, I think the Americans won like 4 of the 10 weeks.
Okay.
So the U.S. has really come up, because I would say, I mean, Penn State, I don't know, you probably don't follow college wrestling, but the guy who's...
Bo Nickel.
Well, yeah, Bo Nickel
his story
was
just
amazing.
incredible.
But so Cal Sanderson, who's the head coach at Penn State, think about this. I think he lost 1 match in high school, 4-time undefeated national champ in college, gold medal in the Olympics, and he will be the winningest Division I coach of any sport ever. He's been there 11 seasons. He's won 9 national championships. Think about that. And he's had like 100 individual titles. I mean, think about it.
John Hanrahan?
Name sounds familiar.
I think he wrestled at Penn State, if I remember correctly. But he was another, like, just hardcore guy.
Well, I'll tell you, so people ask me, like, who's my, like, Mount Rushmore of who I want to have on my podcast. I want to have Cal Sanderson on my podcast. That guy's like Yoda. He's doing something different, because actually the guy who's head coach at Ohio State, Tommy Ryan, him and I went to Iowa wrestling camp together. So I knew him and his brother. They wrestled at Wantagh. I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
So so I knew them pretty well. And so it's funny, this is probably back maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Penn State was ranked number 1. Ohio State was ranked number 2. They were both undefeated. It was the last dual meet of the season, and it was at Ohio State. And it was so interesting to watch, because when the Ohio State guys would win, they would go bananas, right? When the Penn State guys would win, it was like they were on Valium. They were just like, it was like they were taking a walk in the park. He's coaching differently. He's doing something different. And I would just love to have him on the podcast to understand what he's doing different.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, imagine any other sport. Imagine like in college basketball, college football, winning 9 championships in 11 years. Like, impossible.
It's wild. It reminds me of the UConn women's basketball coach, whatever that guy.
Yeah.
He just never not wins.
Well, and it is the other thing that's interesting is the 3 best wrestling coaches ever: Dan Gable from Iowa, Cal Sanderson at Penn State, and John Smith from Oklahoma. He was a 2-time gold medal winner, and I think he won 2 or 3 national championships. unlike any other sport, the best coaches are also the best wrestlers.
And that's definitely not true.
Yeah, Phil Jackson, okay basketball player, great coach.
Yeah, Michael Jordan,
great player, not as good a coach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know why that is. I think it's
it's not a team sport, kinda, right? Because you're out there on your own. So I think if you have if you're the greatest wrestler and you're on that island and you're learning how to do it right,
Well, the other thing is a wrestler. I mean, you're just not listening to someone who can't kick your ass. Like when I was at Iowa wrestling camp, Gable was probably in his late 30s, early 40s, something like that, and he could still beat most of the guys on the team that were national champions.
Right.
I mean, he was still a freaking
20-year-olds.
Yeah, 20-year-olds, and he was beating most of them still. I mean, they didn't want to wrestle him because he beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember how one time Gable was demonstrating a move on me. He would grab your wrist. You feel like you broke the bones in your wrist. I mean, the guy was not normal.
Yeah, my dad had me one time. He got one of his old coaches who was a former Marine, and he had a glass eye. He was like, he's going to train you during the off season this year. So I meet him, and we meet on the football field. And when I shook his hand, and then I can't remember, I touched him. I don't know if I patted him on the back, gave him a hug or whatever. It was like hugging concrete. And he was in his 70s. Right. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And then basically all we did every day is I had a helmet on and shorts and t-shirt and cleats, and we were on a football field, and he would literally just be like, run over there, run over here, get down, get up, run over there, run over here. That was it. And I was in the greatest shape of my life. And all it was just running around, jumping down, because that was the game. And it was funny because, other years I'd do all this fancy VO2 max training and all that, and at the end of the day, it was just get in the best shape of your life.
Well, because I was a very good high school wrestler and a very mediocre college wrestler. The problem is Division I, everyone works like a lunatic.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to talent.
Right.
And I had some, but not enough.
Yeah.
But it was funny after I graduated. I was a pretty competitive age grouper triathlete. I was doing Olympic distance, not Ironman, but I was fast. At the end of a Olympic distance race, I'm running a 5:45 per mile pace for a 10K, pretty fast. And every race I did. Because what they do is they write your age on your calf. Every race, every triathlon, they write your age on your calf, which means every person you pass and every person that passes you know how old they are.
Right.
So every race I did, there'd be at least one guy in his 60s that would blow by me on the run like I was standing still. I'm like, if I'm running a 5:45, he's running a 5:15.
Yeah.
And he started 5 age groups behind me. How is that even possible? And so it's one of the things I realized, my dad's 83 now and, very healthy, blood work's good, blood pressure's good, but 83, he shrunk 5 inches, because he hasn't kept up the resistance training like someone like you would or someone like I would.
Yeah.
And so it's I really do know that I can stay really fit, certainly into my mid to late 70s, no doubt in my mind. That as long as I keep up, I can still do 80 push-ups unbroken.
What's your routine now as far as fitness?
It's been a little high. So I haven't been. So when I was living in Miami, my wife and I would do a 6 a.m. workout every single day. Actually, what we usually do is we do an hour walk before. Then we do a 40-minute. There's a gym in Brickell called Sweat 440. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yep.
And I love the workout because it's cardio, it's resistance, and you'll see guys in there look like bodybuilders, and you see soccer moms and everybody in between. And so when I was doing that for a year, my VO2 max was 51.5, which is pretty damn good. And that was all I was doing was walking and doing that. And then I would do maybe one or two Tabata workouts a week. So what I try to do is I try to shrink my workout time to as little as possible. And I'm actually.
Are you still doing the walking?
I am, yeah. So the walking.
Because to me, the walking is everything. People don't realize the benefits of walking. It is, especially as soon as you wake up.
It's because when I used to run, running sucks for stress reduction
Yeah.
because I'm too competitive with myself. So I'm looking at my split time. Oh, I'm slower than yesterday. Like I'm thinking about it, right?
And it's also that compact, like that.
It's not good for your joints.
It's not
Yeah.
good.
But when you go for a walk, you're just going for a walk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you can't, and it's like, so my wife, it was funny. She was saying, because we usually walk together. Now she wants to do 2-hour walks a day, but with weighted vests, which we just got
like
them.
they call it
Like rucking. Yeah. So, and I will say Scottsdale's got some, now that it's cooled off a bit, there's some amazing hiking. So
Scottsdale can get hot, right? Like
dude,
in the 120s.
We moved there
or something?
mid-July. Like I could have cooked breakfast on the sidewalk.
That's what I heard.
Like 120.
Yeah.
Like it was like 108, and it's like the sun's not up. I'm like, how is that possible that it's 108 and there's
That's
no
like
sun?
literally like a sauna.
It really was.
That's wild. It's kind of like, I remember going to Vegas during the summer, and like you'd walk out from the casinos.
And you can see the heat.
And you would like it would just be like, it would hit you like a ton of bricks. It was,
Yeah. July and August. July and August were terrible. But now that we're in, like even like late September, like it's really actually quite nice now.
Yeah. Are there is it get mountains in Arizona?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
If you 2 hours north, like Flagstaff, you can go skiing. In the winter.
Oh wow.
I think what we might do is I had never been. I've been to Salt Lake before, but I'd never been to Park City. It is beautiful. Park City is.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
I'm thinking.
And
what we
also,
might do
if you do that, go to, so you have Park City, but go to there's two mountains called Snowbird and Alta,
right,
that are like a little bit more private, and they are like, the powder there is like unbelievable.
I went during the summer, so I was thinking what we might do is spend the winter months in Scottsdale and the summer months in Salt Lake. Sorry, in Park City.
Park City.
It might be what we end up doing because, or the other thing was, we spent a little bit of time in San Diego when I launched the course and this poster business. We did a podcast tour. I did like 25 podcasts in a week. But we spent some time in San Diego for a few of them, and I really spent time there. I'm like, man, San Diego's freaking nice.
San Diego's beautiful.
And if I can spend,
and the weather is like ridiculous.
And if I'm spending 6 months a year there, but I'm a nomad resident of South Dakota, I'm not going to deal with California bullshit taxes.
Right. Or just the bullshit in general.
Yeah, bullshit in general. Seriously. Although like Coronado, like if you're that area, it's not like it's the most Republican part of California. It's not as bad.
San Fran is.
Oh, dude, San Francisco and LA
like burning down.
Lost their damn minds. I mean, honestly,
insane.
like the Charlie Kirk thing. So by the way, I didn't realize Charlie Kirk lived right down the street from me. He lived in the same apartment complex as a good friend of mine. And he lived in the Kierland Optima. We live in the.
I didn't even know he lived in Arizona.
Yeah, that's why they had his memorial service was in Arizona, because that's where he lived.
Duh. I didn't realize that.
But it was like the part that blew me away. I mean, but the part that was so upsetting to me. I mean, yeah, it was horrible. I mean, never seen something so grotesque in my life. But having so many people dancing on his grave, that was the part that blew my mind. These are people that are like firefighters, teachers, lawyers, doctors, social workers, like gleeful. And I was like, okay, what?
And even for me, it was, and I hate to actually say it, that was almost expected for me, like because of how they've just been. And when I say they, I mean, I don't like putting people in, but the left or whatever you want to call it. The thing that was more hurtful for me was not that, because that's so, like, I don't know those people.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to be a whack job. Like, there's no connection there. Like, you're just a freaking whack job.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're doing that, there's something wrong. But for me, the DMs that I would get from people I knew and were friends of mine, basically kind of like implying that
he had it coming.
That he had it coming. That, to me, was worse, because these are my friends and people that I like love and respect in a lot of ways. And then also it like, it said to myself, I was like, you DM me that, and I started thinking about it. I was like, historically, I'm like, you've never DM me like, how are my kids, or DM me like, congratulations, or like, in fact, you never DM me, but you follow me and you're watching me, but you want to respond because I posted something on a man getting, dying for his beliefs. It's just, that's what for me was just so upsetting. Like it made me do another inventory check on the people I'm going to, like, spend time with or do, and that is sad. Like, it's like, here we go again. I'm losing more friends. Like, it's like, I don't have a lot to begin with, it's like, it's frustrating.
I remember you telling me the story. I think it was when I had you on my podcast about, you paying a whole bunch of people during COVID and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they still fucked you over. And it was just like, I mean, I've had, not to that degree, but I've definitely had some people, like really surprise me. And it's funny, it used to upset me. It doesn't upset me anymore. It used to really upset me a lot. And I realized, like, and the reason that the reframe for me was, it doesn't say anything about me. It says something about them, right? Same thing. People like you said, what does it say about someone that's going to DM you about someone getting murdered?
Because I started to, like, you kind of like start to like defend yourself and go back. And all of a sudden I just stopped myself. I'm like, wait a minute. They've never even asked me how my kids are,
right.
So it's like, how are they going to start judging me on? And by the way, a repost. It wasn't like I did some post. You know what I mean? I just reposted something, and I believe it was like something biblical and like nice, and it wasn't even like political. So it was weird. And then I don't know. The other night I was this popped up in my head. I was like, the people we love the most, like that we truly like love, care about, think about, do they love us? Like, do they care? Like, it's like, I always wonder that. Not that I'm a change, but always like, not always, but this recently has been like kind of in my mind of like, do they even give a shit? Like, because I do, it's like, and then because we're so connected and disconnected all at the same time. Because I feel like people think because they watch your thread, your reel, that they're watching your life. When it's like literally 5%, I might post 5%. And right now I don't even run my Instagram. So it's like, you're not even watching me, you're watching some bot, you know what I mean? It's like, so it's like, the days of checking in, the days of like just a phone call, a FaceTime, a text, it's getting fewer and far between. Like,
it's funny. I've had some of the same thoughts, and I think what it comes down to for me is very few people are, and I don't want to make this sound like I think I'm all that, but the one thing I am is I'm authentic, right? And I'm a very vulnerable, authentic person. Like, there aren't 5 versions of me. There's not the version with my daughter and the version with my wife and the version with my friend and the version with my people I do things professionally with.
But that's lonely.
It's so here's what I would say. I
agree with you.
I often feel alone, but I don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
But I often feel alone.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But the way you just described yourself is how I would describe myself, and the reason why I feel like you're not for everyone.
Oh, for sure.
When you're truly you and authentic, and you're responding or reacting how you feel like you should in certain situations, even if it's not what is going to be maybe the right thing in their eyes, then you might rub someone the wrong way, and that's where I find myself a lot is like, I'm not going to alter my response because it's going to hurt your feelings, or another thing I get all the time recently too is my tone, Now, I totally understand when it comes to my wife, all right? Tone is my kids, tone is everything.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, and I'm trying to get you to do what you're supposed to be doing, you don't need to worry about my tone. You need to be worried about the things that I say. And I do understand that sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. Sure. I understand that. But I think we're living in a world and we're living in generations where there's too much emphasis on how it's said and not the substance of what being said.
Look, there's way too many snowflakes. There's
That's
no doubt. Yeah, there's way too many snowflakes. I will say this. Well, one of the things, and look, my my second and final wife has helped me, and my daughter have both helped me enormously over the last, say, 10 years. Sort of, let's say smooth over some of the rough edges. And as I've gotten older, I think about communication a little bit differently than I did when I was younger. The way I think about it now is I see it always as a persuasion exercise, right? And I differentiate between persuasion and manipulation. If manipulation is trying to get you to do something against your interest, persuasion, I'm trying to get you to do something in your interest.
In your interest,
or at least neutral, right?
Yeah.
But usually in their interest. And so to me, it's like when I think about my tone, I'm like, how can I say this in a way that's going to be most persuasive to them? And I do think part of the problem in all relationships is that, especially romantic relationships and relationships with parents and children and stuff, you're right, tone is so important. And how is my daughter, my wife, my brother, my father going to hear what I'm going to say? Or is someone who I'm trying to persuade that works for me maybe, or that's working on a project for me, how can I say it in a way that they're going to hear it? Otherwise, I'm just talking to hear myself talk.
Right.
Right? And I mean, look, my wife and I, almost 10 years, we have never uttered an unkind word to each other in 10 years. We have occasional disagreements, but we have mild disagreements. We don't ever have fights.
Yeah.
And we've never been intentionally mean to each other, ever.
I think that's bizarre when you're in a committed relationship.
Right,
You know what I mean? But people do it all the time.
All the time.
Getting people to understand that what you're telling them is for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of times I feel like, especially as the boss or the leader, is like sometimes they think you're telling them because it's for you. But then like ultimately, yeah, it comes back to you. But this is to help you, you know?
Well, again, I think that people in most relationships don't take enough, and I think it's easiest to get this wrong when you're the boss, right? Where you're supposed to do it because I'm the boss, which is true, right?
But that's the wrong way to frame it.
As opposed to, it's like, well, okay, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? Would I rather be right or would I rather be rich?
Yeah.
Right? And, and so it's like, to me, I'm like, I want to take as much responsibility for how I communicate, because I have 100% control of how I communicate. I have almost no control with how they take what I say to them.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, control the shit you can control and let go of the rest.
Yeah.
So like, like when my reason I moved out to Scottsdale was I have an older brother who's my height and 350 pounds.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, and so it's like, I can't control whether he's going to lose the weight
How's
or not.
he doing?
He's lost about 30. He's still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't control whether he does it or not, but if I didn't move out there and he dropped dead, like I would, and I knew I could have done more, I'd never forgive myself.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm going to control my half of the equation, and then it's going to play out how it plays out. So, yeah, it's
Is he walking?
He is. Yeah, he's walking. He's also, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I honestly, like, I'm not very good at compartmentalizing. He is. Like, it's probably saved him, because I don't know how, just like walking is, that'd be like me carrying you around all day.
Right.
You know, it's like, that'd be exhausting. Yeah. But even like things like putting on your shoes and socks when you're that big is really hard. You know, getting on an airplane, things like that, very oversized person.
Most of the clients that I've ever worked with, though, that were like really obese, walking was absolutely the best thing that I could get them to do. Like, even if it was starting out with 10 minutes,
right,
in 10-minute increments, like,
right.
I just keep walking. And then the other thing I would always tell them is that anytime you go anywhere in a car and you have to park the furthest parking spot you can find. If you have a place where there's an elevator or stairs, take the stairs. Like, making these like little choices every single day.
I like that.
And they compound.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, your steps have added up,
Yeah.
and then your effort has increased. And again, it's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do every single day that compounds over time, and that's where you get the results. And so it's worked like a lot with people. And then also that instant gratification, delayed gratification kind of conversation, you have to kind of have them have that conversation with themselves. Like, yes, this is going to be instantly good, but my ultimate goal, I need to delay that so that my ultimate goal, I have a better gratification. So can I, say no in this moment so that it'll, get me further or closer to where I really ultimately want to be, which is not 300 pounds,
Well, I mean, I'm actually going to give him, I think that's a great idea. And I had not thought about that, but you're right. Park far away, take the stairs. Those little things do add up.
And then, like, don't ever have a day where you don't walk or do something active. Like
Yeah.
there should never, oh, my foot hurts or this or that. Like kind of like the wrestling days, right?
Yeah.
Like you do it no matter what. Like
No matter what.
you're doing it no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's because it's literally, this is it for him. If you really think about it, like
no, it's funny. You know, I think the only time my wife didn't like me very much was this is probably maybe it's about 6 or 7 years ago. I was living in Chicago at the time, and the gym I was working out at was doing this like Biggest Loser challenge, and I, for me, put on a lot of weight, like 20 pounds. I was working crazy hours, hadn't been working out as much, and so I just wanted to see if I could be like I was when I was wrestling.
Okay.
And so I was insane. I was doing 2 a days, sometimes 3 a days, and it was 6 weeks, and I dropped 22 pounds in 6 weeks, and I gained. Well, actually, I gained. I think I lost 22 pounds on the scale, but I really lost 30 pounds because I added 8 pounds of muscle. So like 30 pounds of fat in 6 weeks.
That's impressive.
I mean, I was a lunatic.
Yeah.
My wife's like, I don't fucking like you very much right now. I'm like, it'll be over soon.
Yeah. Were you on a really strict diet?
Oh
too?
yeah, I was like eating like a monk.
Yeah.
I mean, I won the competition. It was like I didn't really care about it, but it was like $1,000 to win first place.
It's awesome.
I got a free gym membership for the year, but I didn't care about that. But I beat the next person by 50%. Like I lost more than 50% more than the next closest person. Because I'm like, there's only two possibilities: I win or I die.
Right.
Those are the only two possibilities.
Yeah.
And I knew who the other people were, and I was like, but it was funny. Like it was so satisfying to know that I could go that hard if I needed to. It was really, really gratifying.
Yeah. How old were you then?
But this has been like maybe 7-8 years ago, so I would have been like 52.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You look fantastic.
Yeah, I'm 59 now. I feel great. I mean, I'm turning 60 in April, and
my dad
honestly,
just turned 75 today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't feel that different than I did when I was 30. I really don't.
Yeah.
If and the difference was like both wrestling when I was doing triathlons, I definitely overtrained, like way overtrained. Now I'm doing the opposite. In fact, this guy I'm helping got a term sheet for $25 million. He's going to open. So it's a really cool concept called the Smart Fit method. I don't know if have you ever used an ARX machine? It's an AI workout machine.
Is it the one that?
Has
basically
the bar
it's like
and the so basically it's like using eccentric and concentric where it's maximizing the resistance for the full range of motion. Each machine I think is $45,000.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
There's another one called I think it's Exofit.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's also.
They have it at the Sumner Wellness Clinic in Brickell.
Okay.
That the Sumners open, the people that own that school. So
the other one is, have you ever heard of a Vesper bike? So this thing. So
what's it called?
Vesper.
Vesper.
Yeah, VESPER.
Is it like the Watt bike or?
No, not exactly. So it's like you probably heard of a Carol bike.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vesper bike so Stanford did this experiment maybe like 15 years ago. They had control group and a test group where they're doing pull-ups, and so they do as many pull-ups as you can. Rest. I think it's like 2 minutes, then as many as you can until you can't do anymore. And they had the control group did it, and then the test group. The only thing that was different was they had them put their arm in a cold sleeve, 40 degrees. And they were able to do like 3 or 4 times as many pull-ups.
That's a big thing now because now they have the called cool pads. Have you heard about it's a business now? Well,
so this Vesper bike, it uses that concept, and what it does is it puts these cuffs around your thighs, kind of like almost like blood pressure cuffs around your thighs, and your biceps, and there's also one around your neck, and it runs like 40-degree water through it. And the pedals, you just have socks, so you can go barefoot. They're also like 40 degrees, super cold. And so you're doing a 20-minute HIIT workout, but because of the cold, it doesn't feel like a HIIT workout. You feel like you're just on a recumbent bike doing on a nice little stroll, and you're doing a HIIT workout. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever done. It's unbelievable. It's also like $40,000.
Where are you doing this?
So this guy, the Smart Fit method, has all this cool shit. The other thing they do is on a Carol bike, they have this oxygen system where they basically, it changes where they give you 100% more oxygen than normal, and then 40% less oxygen than normal, and they oscillate back and forth. And a 20-minute workout is apparently the same oxygen impact as doing 90 minutes in a hyperbaric chamber.
What?
And so they're using all this cool tech to shrink your workout time. That's when I went to Park City. I went to look at their new location, and and test all their shit out. It was amazing.
So it's a facility that has all this stuff.
Yeah, it's basically a facility. So they test your VO2 max, your basal metabolic rate. They have like it's not a DEXA scan, but it's like DEXA scan like kind of thing where they figure out exactly how much muscle, lean tissue, all that kind of stuff. And then they, and the whole idea is to try to shrink your workout time. But they're seeing 70% annual improvements in strength on average across all exercises. That's pretty damn high.
That's amazing. 70%. And it's mostly from the cold.
No, it's
stuff,
a combination of. So the Vesper bike and the Carol bike with the oxygen is to help you with your VO2 max, and then the Arc machine and the ExoFit machine are to help you with your strength and resistance stuff. And it's amazing. But anyway, so this guy's got a term sheet for $25 million to open another 25 locations. So.
How big are the locations? They probably doesn't
they're
need
like,
to be that big because
2,400, 2,300 square feet. They also have this cool thing. So there's a company called Lumati. They're in Southern California. They have this thing. They call it a 5-in-1. It's really one of them's just a supplement. The other 4, it's this red light wall, but it's not just red light. It's like 10 different wavelengths. There's a vagus nerve stimulating noise canceling headphones. So it's literally, they're $800 headphones, but they do vagus nerve stimulation. You're listening to a guided meditation while it's stimulating your vagus nerve. You're standing on a vibrating plate and you're breathing in nanoparticle hydrogen. It's 15 minutes. I am telling you that I did this 15-minute thing. It is the most relaxed I have felt in my entire life.
Wow.
After 15 minutes. I went on, where I was in Park City, so I went on a hike with the guy who had taken me through the whole thing. And I just recently had my eyesight checked, because I had LASIK done a long time ago. So I used to be 20/20, now I'm like 20/40. For 5 hours, I was 20/20 again. It was the weirdest thing. I'm telling you, it was. I think it was the light that actually improved my vision.
That happened to me one time on shrooms. I swear, because I'm getting old, so I had the readers.
Yeah.
And then this guy gave me like a little chocolate one time, and I could see perfectly fine. And I was like, almost like in 3D. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like some of the new tech is amazing. So, I'm really enjoying. In fact, I'm helping a guy launch this super high-end wellness business. Low-end annual membership, $50K, high-end, $200K. And basically, it's like, what Brian Johnson does? He looks like a vampire.
Guy that looks like the vampire. Yeah.
He goes to sleep at 8 o'clock. But he basically spending $3 million a year. He's got like a team of doctors, whatever.
Have you ever seen the meme where it has the Italian guy smoking cigarettes and he's burnt to a crisp and he's 100 years old and it like lists what he does every day? It's like bottle of wine, multiple sexual partners, a pack of cigarettes. It's the funniest meme I've ever seen.
Pound of pasta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I have not seen that meme, but I get it. But and again, I'm never going to be Brian Johnson. I'm not going to sleep at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. But the idea is that,
he takes like 3,000 pills.
It's some crazy, some crazy. Stops eating at noon.
Right, it's ridiculous.
But anyway, so the idea is to basically do like a customized version of that.
Okay.
Again, the high end is $200,000 a year, and so, but the cool thing is, I get to try all this cool new shit, all this longevity biohacking stuff.
Have you done anything with stem cells yet?
I haven't, although I think I'm going to, because I have some pretty bad. Degeneration in my neck from all the neck bridging from wrestling. Yeah. And my shoulders are a mess from dislocated, separated both shoulders a bunch of times from wrestling.
So Florida is the first state to approve stem cells. So
I heard.
We just got a tour of Camara.
Okay.
Their lab here.
Okay.
And it was very impressive, like very impressive. So they get theirs harvested from the placenta.
Okay.
And their process is like it looked like something out of like,
Well, the stem cell treatment's about like $35,000 or something like that.
It depends on like, what your protocol is. It can range anything if it's like an injection to like 2,000 to like the highest end IV could be 50,000. Like,
okay.
What I mean? But I had the doctor on, and he actually brought 2 of his patients to be on the podcast. You should listen to it. It's phenomenal. So this guy said he was given 6 months to live. He was having complete kidney failure. And he did all these stem cell treatments and a bunch of other stuff like ozone and UBI and high dose vitamin C, just a bunch of IV protocols. and completely, he's like perfect now.
Wow.
And then when he's from Canada and he went to his doctor after he did all the treatment, and his doctor literally was like, there's something wrong with your blood work. This makes no sense. He was like, there's no way this is real. So then his mom used to be a professional dancer, and she was injured dancing. So she's been in a wheelchair for like 10 years, addicted to alcohol and addicted to drugs because of the pain she lives with. She did the same treatment. She's now dancing again. And she's like in her 70s. Like it's pretty phenomenal stuff. And from what I learned is that not all stem cells are the same. It's kind of like, so all this stuff that you see, people going down to Tijuana and Colombia and all that, is that they're not all the same. So you have to really pay attention to where you're getting your stem cells from. And so all these like, discounted places, you should probably
You're going to get what you pay for. It's like, you don't want to get a boob job, buy one, get one free, right?
Yeah. We've seen some of the BBLs in Miami that are the cheap versions.
Well, I'm sure you can appreciate this from your experience with the water, but I think the statistic I heard is something like over 80% of all supplements have ingredients in it that are not supposed to be there, and don't have the ingredients that are supposed to be there.
And not only that, it's something to do with so peptides are like this. So depending on where you get your peptides, for example, China does a lot of peptides, and you're basically getting, so it'll say like 99% pure, you're basically getting like 10% pure.
Really?
Like you're not even getting what you think you're getting. And that's, so many people are doing this on the black market where they're getting bad peptides, which is, they're just throwing away their money. So again, you get what you pay for.
Where should you be getting your peptides from?
From a doctor now. Like they're all
just
like,
pharmaceutical
now
grade.
It's from an actual pharmacy that will prescribe. Your doctor can prescribe it, and you can get it from a legitimate pharmacy here in the U.S. You don't have to get it in the mail from
It's so
China.
funny. I'm sure you've seen this, but like when I've spent time in Mexico. Every pharmacy has like, some roided out guy on some poster, like, get your roids here. I'm like, what the fuck? It's so
There's some new Netflix show called The Cocaine Quarterback or something. The story about the USC walk-on that like was giving all the guys steroids, and he literally was going to Mexico. And he said he just he went to Mexico and he just started seeing all the like super jack guys going in there, and he just followed them in there and then bought what they bought and then took it. And then he was explaining like going back over the border and like, where he kept it. And so he said he'd be sweating and he'd be squeezing his butt cheeks, but he made it through. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. So to wrap up, first of all, this is awesome. I can talk to you for forever, so it's easy, man. Give me a book to tell our audience. Give me a book recommendation. I'm a big believer in that. And then I always ask people if there was something that you wanted the world to know about you, but you don't think they do, what would it be?
Give you the book first. So you know who Chase Hughes is?
Chase Hughes?
Yeah, he's been on Rogan's podcast and a bunch of other ones. I think so he worked for intelligence services on, interrogations and, manipulation, all this stuff. I think he's the world's best human being when it comes to, more manipulation, but persuasion too. Like how to eat things like looking at people's blink rate when they're talking and changes in their blink rate, how to tell when you're being persuasive to someone, how we're not. I mean, it's like $180, $190 on Amazon. It's a paperback this thick called it Operations Manual. And I'm only about a third of the way through it. I've never seen something better. And I've read a lot of stuff on persuasion.
Did you read Split the Difference?
What's that?
Split the Difference?
It's Split the Difference is good.
Yeah.
This is better.
Okay.
Yeah, like again, because Robert Cialdini, I think, was recognized as sort of the world's most renowned expert in persuasion. He wrote a book called Influence 25 years ago, and then he wrote one more recently called Persuasion. And Chase Hughes, I think, blows him out of the water. This stuff is unbelievable.
Okay.
It's industrial grade persuasion.
Have you The Art of Seduction?
Is that
Robert Greene?
Robert Greene? I have read. Yeah.
That one's
I have.
good too.
Yeah, and then the law.
That one though, you I don't know. For me, I was reading it, and you find yourself, you're like, man, I don't know if I want to apply some of this stuff. It's like, to your point earlier, it's like, there's a difference between persuasion and manipulation. So.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to a guy, around my age, where he's, got divorced a couple years ago, and we're commiserating about our first marriages. He doesn't have a second one yet. He was like, I used to be, because I literally said, if I talk about getting married again, rendition me to a CIA black site in Afghanistan and waterboard me until I recant. Like, that's how serious I was that I would never get married again. But anyway, we were talking about it, and I was like, people have it all wrong. Like, most people are not going to be a good match for you. Like, it should be like 99% of people are not going to. In fact, another book I'm going to write, believe it or not, over a 5-year period of time, I went on over 1,000 first dates. So
1,000?
1,000.
So we got to have that book. That will be your bestseller for sure.
It's going to be called 1,000 First Dates. So
that's awesome. I can't wait for that.
My wife thinks my greatest contribution to humanity is helping guys understand women.
There you go.
But anyway, we were talking about it, and I was like, at the end of the day, to be successful with women, being handsome is helpful, but not necessary.
Right.
Being rich is helpful, but not necessary. What is necessary is you have to be comfortable in your own skin. And anyone can make that choice. I'm not saying it's an easy choice to make. Mm-hmm. It's very hard for most people. But the reality is, if you can truly be comfortable in your own skin, nothing's more intoxicating to a woman. I would say when I would go on first dates, I would almost always say this, and it's true, I'm the easiest guy to get rid of, break up with. You just need to say, I'm not feeling it. I don't need to know why or who.
Yeah.
The why is irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
Like, my number one criteria in a woman, she has to dig me, period.
Yeah.
And even like my wife, who I love, she knows that the minute that I'm not doing it for her, like when we signed a prenup, I said, look, you're giving me your best years. When we met, she was 23, I was 50. And I was like, you're giving me your best years. If you decide you don't want to be with me, I want you to know what you're going to walk away with.
Yeah.
Because you're giving me your best years. And I said, the minute I'm not doing it for you, just let me know.
That's
and
awesome.
I would argue that that's super attractive to a woman, because they want to be with a guy who has options. They want to be with a guy who says, hey, I'm only want to be with someone. You can't treat me badly. It's not possible.
Right.
Because I would never tolerate that.
Right.
And, a woman just needs to understand that. And I think
it also goes back to authenticity too.
It does, because without authenticity.
If you're not being your true authentic self, then what are we doing?
To your second question about what don't people know about me, I guess the thing about it is, it kind of goes to that authenticity thing, which is, I think that people people have the opinion that things come easy to me. Nothing's come easy. My life's been difficult. I don't want to make it like I didn't grow up in the slums or anything like that.
Right.
But it's like my biggest frustration, and I think why I often don't feel understood. I kind of feel alone. Is people just think that things magically work out, and they don't.
Right.
I've had plenty of things not work out.
Right.
And I think that. Because I went to good schools and shit like that. Like, as a Jewish white guy from Long Island, trying to get into an Ivy League school, you know how hard that is to do?
Yeah.
I was severely dyslexic. I was tested at a third grade reading level when I was in 7th grade. So it's like,
isn't there something though tied to people that suffer with dyslexia that you're also kind of genius?
It does. So it makes you much more entrepreneurial. So it's something like, I think it's like 8% of the population are dyslexic, but it's like 40% of entrepreneurs or something.
Yeah, something like that. Right?
And the other thing I will say is I'm a reasonably smart guy, but reading was really hard for me. If someone said you can read a book or get a root canal, I'd have chosen the root canal. That's how painful reading was for me. Now reading and writing, two things I hated, are my two favorite things to do.
And you're also a great communicator.
I try to be, and again, I wasn't always, right?
Yeah.
Like I learned how to communicate. That's the other thing I think people get so wrong, is they think who they are is static. I've reinvented myself. If someone told me 5 years ago I was going to be doing podcasts, I'd be like, you're high. What are you talking? There's no way. And it's like, you can decide who you're going to be. So, I'm not a morning person. You're not behaving like a morning person. Anyone can choose to be a morning person.
Exactly. It's the choices we make. And then we should be, that's what No Days Off is that you're in a constant state of becoming.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think so many people accept who they are, not who they can become.
Right.
They
say so many self-limiting beliefs. And I guess the other thing that's interesting to me is when people think about relationships, And I would argue this is true not just in romantic relationships, but friendships, and even the family relationships you're going to have that you're really going to invest and nurture. Is if both of you don't have a growth mindset, that relationship's not going to work out.
Forget about it.
And and if neither of you have a growth mindset, I guess that could work out okay too. But I don't know how well it's going to work out. But it's like if you don't have a growth mindset, if you have a growth mindset, you have to only surround yourself with people that are like that because it's never going to work out. It might work out in the short term.
Mindset? Carol Dweck?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you would love that.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, it's a little probably elementary for you, honestly, because you're already there, but it would be very validating and affirming. It's a growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
Yeah.
But it's one I always have to give to my staff when they're like stuck in that fixed mindset of this is just how to your point, like I'm not a morning person. That one drives me insane. Because it's like, neither am I, but I choose to get up. Like,
I always say, give people, anytime someone says they can't do something, like, okay, so let's say that they have a 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you knew that if you didn't do that thing, your 4-year-old daughter was going to die,
right.
Could you do it? Of course you could.
Of course you could.
So it's a choice.
Yes, exactly.
Like, take the edge case, and that kind of makes the point. So this has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
You're amazing. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, man.